let's hear a win from you, Miss Lisa.
Well, I got to the gym today.
Oh yeah, that
I
is a
didn't,
win.
I did not want to get out of bed.
And you did.
I
And today was
did.
a day off, you said? Did I remember
Um,
that correctly?
Probably not, but yeah, no, I did not want to get up.
And you still made it. I love the resilience and the consistency. Let's go. Miss Lisa, I don't think you submitted any screenshots, correct? Just want to make sure that
No, I
I'm not
didn't. I
missing
totally
anything.
forgot.
That's okay. If you have anything that you want to submit, by all means. If not, I'll go through what we have on the t Tasty Tuesday post. I'm gonna share my screen with y'all. Share my screen. Mm, I don't know why it selects photos. So let me know if this works because my phone's been odd. Um, and 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 can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. All right, so we'll start with Miss Heather's food log here. So we got a breakfast, and we're sitting at roughly 518 calories with 49 grams, almost 50 grams of protein. So I really love to see this where we're looking at that percentage of the meal, 39%. That is nice and high. Typically, I have you ladies between 20 and 30% for your daily calories going towards protein. So really love to see this high protein meal. It's awfully close to your calories. So when you're looking at a high protein meal, I want you to look at the protein. So let's say 50 grams. We'll just round up. If
Lucy,
yeah.
I only see your um, I don't see your screen. I just see your
Oh,
little logo.
oh no.
So,
Okay. Let
yeah.
me thank you for letting me know. Let me
Hmm.
try sharing my screen again. Everything on your screen, including notifications, will be recorded. Enable do not disturb. Um, why isn't it letting me? One moment, please. We are having some technical difficulties. Share, share my screen, start broadcast. Okay, I think it's gonna work this time. And okay, can we see my screen now?
Yes.
Woo! Yeah, let's go. All right, so for Miss Heather's food log, we had roughly 518 calories for give or take 50 grams of protein. Miss Daisy, ah, you're not a part of this. Hmm. And so when we're looking at if a meal, or let's say you're looking at something that's high protein, because we're going to go into the grocery store and we're going to see a lot of things that are advertised as quote unquote high protein. And so one really easy trick to see if it's a high protein meal is look at the grams of protein and then add a zero at the end. So in this case, we would be looking at 500 calories. We don't want the amount of calories be more than that number. So here it's relatively close. It's 18 calories over. Not too concerned about it. However, if I wanted to get like more critical and like make some changes to get the calories a little bit lower, one of the first things that I would look at here is I would go for replacing the two eggs and one large egg white to potentially two large egg whites and one egg, which would really dramatically reduce the amount of calories by like 70. Right, right. So yeah, 70 calories off of one egg, and then doubling those egg whites, giving us another 17 calories. So the difference there is going to be significant, would put us under the calories to make it a good protein source. Um, Next thing, I'm not going to hate on the bacon bits, but if you wanted to make it higher protein, lower calorie, I would go for some turkey bacon, and you can have more of that. Um, and then otherwise, the protein powder, great tool on days that we are low in protein, but I don't want us to lean on protein powder as our main protein source. And so I really want us to focus on getting the majority of our protein from nutrient-dense whole sources and only using the protein like powder as a backup or as a supplement as best as possible because it's not a real food, right? So we ideally want to try and get most of our protein and nutrients from nutrient-dense whole foods, but it still has its place when we're having a hard time hitting protein. So I'm not going to hate on it, but just bring some awareness here. When we are looking at um, the fiber here, we're looking at about 5.5. So I typically recommend between 5 and 10 grams of fiber for you guys to be able to hit 20 to 25 grams of fiber effortlessly. And so it's in that lower range, but it's in that range. So I'm happy to see that. If I wanted to add more fiber for little amount of calories, I would probably add like a cup of raspberries or a cup of blueberries on the side here. Or this next one, a hamburger lunch, we're sitting at 492 calories. Looking at our protein at 51 grams. If I add a zero, up to 510 grams. So this checks off for the clearance of being calories under the amount of protein if you added the zero. So love to see that. If we wanted to make some adjustments here, I would just go for swapping out the lean ground beef to an extra lean ground beef. Very minor like changes there, but it'll just bring your calories a little bit lower on that aspect. The bacon, again, not going to hate on bacon, but if you want higher protein here, lower calorie, I would go for a turkey bacon. Love to see the chia seeds. And again, going for that protein drink, supplementation ideally, and not the main like source, right? So love to see a high protein drink and just adding a little bit more protein to this meal. Now we're looking at the fiber for this one. We're sitting at around 5 grams yet again. So for this one here, where could we add a little bit more fiber? On the hamburger, maybe we could add some spinach. Maybe we could add some sweet potato as a side. Maybe we could add, again, like a side of raspberries or blueberries with that strawberry banana protein shake, or even making like a smoothie on the side as well to add more fiber. When we're going into the pre-post workout here, we are sitting at roughly 500 calories for 47 grams of protein. So again, really nice and high with the protein. That's right in check with our calorie check. I'm looking at an apple, some almonds, the protein bar, and protein powder. So again, like they have their place, but I don't want us to lean on these artificial protein sources. So like pure protein, absolutely delicious. It tastes like a chocolate bar, but that's just it. Like I will use that as a treat versus leaning on that as a protein source regularly. And then when we look at the fiber here, 7.7. So I love to see that. That's in a nice range there. And that's probably mostly from the almonds and apple. And then we got Miss Leah. So obviously, I don't know if you saw my comment earlier, Miss Leah. I just saw your response here. But next time when we save recipes, save it as a meal versus a recipe because this will give you the ability to adjust the ingredients going forward. So it'll list everything out, and then let's say you make it again, but you slightly adjust one of the ingredients or serving sizes or measurements, etc. It'll just be that much easier for you to do that in the future. And also then I can see what ingredients are in there. Miss Daisy is persistent today, huh? When we're looking at the calories versus protein, if I add a zero to the 53 grams of protein, we're looking at 530. So our calories are a little bit high, around like 150 here. So let's dive into I don't think we have anything for the foods themselves. Okay. So Leah, Miss Leah, if you want a deeper dive on this one, if you can find the ingredients list, awesome. And I can give you more of an individualized report on this so then we can find some ways to cut some of the calories and still keep it high protein. Overlooking the fiber though, absolutely love to see us sitting at a whopping 14.5, hitting us over our half mark in one meal. So that's awesome. Um, this guy here, I think that's just the same one. And I think that's all we have for food log audits here. I'll stop sharing my screen with you. Um, and we got, oh, that makes sense. Thank you. That was annoying so much. I know, it's so silly. It's so silly. Uh, oops. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's the case. I've never really used the save recipes. I've just always done the meal and it's made my life that much easier. But if you end up logging it again, save it as a meal, send that over to me and I can give you more of a personalized in-depth response on that meal specifically and where we can kind of cut some of those calories to keep it within that like high protein rule. Again, like there's still often times where I have meals that are higher in the calories and don't pass that test and still a high protein meal. But it just like helps you kind of navigate if we're trying to be in a caloric deficit and we're struggling. That's one really great tip on how to organize your meals so that the protein is higher than the calories would be, if that makes sense. That being said, do we have any questions, any concerns, anything that we have been struggling with that we're looking for some additional support or help with, or anything nutrition related or anything else? You can unmute as well if you don't want to type it in the chat. I'm going to assume no questions. The one thing I did want to touch on with our food logs, one thing, if we're not using a scale, it can really impact our accuracy and it can really impact whether we have actually been in a deficit or have been eating at maintenance or even in a surplus. And so, if we're using measuring cups, for example, that still might have some discrepancy between the measuring cup and like logging that versus the actual weight of it. There has been quite a few things that I've noticed don't completely line up in terms of a cup serving versus what it actually weighs out to be. The next thing would be like listening to the serving size on a package. For example, I don't know if you guys saw my sweet potato video the other day, but one serving was like 85 grams and it said it was roughly 22 pieces of sweet potato fries. When I weighed out 85 grams, I got 10 to 12 sweet potato fries, which was about half of the serving, which would have doubled the calories if I hadn't weighed it out. So if I counted out 22 pieces, I would have doubled the calories that I was actually logging. And that's going to make a big difference over the span of a week of putting me in a surplus, maintenance, or deficit, if that makes sense. Drinks as well. Oftentimes we might like go out and have a little bevy, but we don't track it. And I know maybe there's some shame and some guilt, and you're like, I don't want Lucy to see that I had two, three beers last night or a glass of wine or what have you. But this is really going to be important when it comes to being in that deficit. And so I want you to be as honest with those food logs if we're having even like if it's not an alcoholic beverage, but even just additional things that we're drinking throughout the day, making sure that we're tracking that. Let's say you're having a vanilla latte every day and getting that on your way to work, but you weren't tracking it. That's a good 200 to 300 calories that you're not accounting for that is going to play into you being in a deficit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And again, like I don't want you guys to like throw your lives away being like glued to a scale and like stressing about the numbers, but just food for thought. If we're ever sitting at a plateau and we're struggling, we're like, like I'm in a deficit. I don't understand why I'm not seeing results. Sometimes those are like the small things that are really stopping us from being in a deficit. When we're tracking, we're like, I am in a deficit, but some of those smaller things might add up over the span of a week and weeks that are stopping us from burning fat efficiently. Um, yes, I need to improve on my tracking a little, I think. What does that look like for you, Miss Leah? Where do you find that you struggle the most when it comes to tracking? Where do you find you might be missing out on it? Is it like, are we measuring with measuring cups? Are we going off of the package? Are we just forgetting to track things? Another thing is like, I cannot trust my memory at the end of the day to track my food. I don't know. Some of y'all like leave it to the end of the day, and I'm like, that's awesome. I don't have that ability. So I have to like when I'm making my food, I am already tracking it, or when I sit down with it, I'm adding it in so that I'm not forgetting about it and I know exactly how much I'm eating. Or we're setting ourselves up for even better success if we track the day before and know exactly how much to eat to ensure that we're staying within our calories and crushing our fiber and protein. I don't always put my drinks in and not always weighing everything. Yeah, so that could definitely play into us seeing results and being in a deficit versus being in a maintenance. And those small things can really add up. Now, again, I don't want us to like stress about it, but I just want to bring some awareness so that if we feel frustrated with not seeing results fast enough, sometimes these are the small things that can add up that are slow in progress. Does that make sense?
When you weigh your meat, do you weigh it like is it better to weigh it when it's raw or when it's cooked?
Great question, Miss Lisa. So most of the foods that are in MyFitnessPal for meats are going to be weighed in raw form, and it's going to kind of it's going to account for the additional water that's typically put into meats to add the volume. And so I would always weigh raw. If you're weighing, like sometimes I'll cook a bulk amount and then I just weigh it afterwards. If you're weighing afterwards, you can just type in cooked, whatever it is. So if you're doing cooked chicken breast or cooked ground beef, whatever, you just search that up and it's not going to be a huge difference, but it will play in. So I would always suggest doing it raw or searching up for the cooked version. Do we have any other questions today, ladies?
I can't think of any.
That's quite all right. And if we have any other questions, feel free to either shoot me a message or drop it in the group so I can answer it publicly if anyone else has a similar question to help others as well. But otherwise, I hope that today's live was helpful in terms of kind of breaking down foods. I'm hoping to integrate some of these food logs a little bit more regularly so it kind of helps you guys understand tracking and knowing what to look for and what adjustments can be made to make these meals. Like I don't want you guys to like switch up everything that you're eating and feeling like you don't love the food that you're eating. So oftentimes the easiest thing is like, okay, what am I already eating? Tracking that, and then what small adjustments can I make to the meals that I'm already eating to make them a little bit more macro friendly, to make them a little bit higher in protein, fiber, lower in calories, and then we can make those small micro adjustments where you're still eating the foods that you love and also hitting and crushing your goals.
Yeah, that was really helpful about the protein to calorie.
Yeah, that one's a really nice hack. And then, like, again, not every meal is that going to be achievable or like don't stress about it if it's like a little bit off. But that's where like looking in the grocery stores when you're looking at like a protein bar, let's say, and it's 230 calories for 18 grams of protein. Maybe not our best investment. And again, there's a time and a place, but we don't want to like rely on artificial protein and ideally getting it from natural sources that we're getting all of the micro and macronutrients from the source. Well, ladies, thank you so very much for joining today's live and our first food log audit. And I am so excited to start introducing and breaking these things down to help you ladies stay on track and hit your calories, protein, and fiber so much more effortlessly. I hope you ladies have the most wonderful weekend. Do we have anything fun or exciting planned? Miss Lisa, do you have a hike planned on Sunday?
Yes.
Ooh.
And then I did see Jen at the chiropractor, and maybe I'll go cold plunge. I'm not
Yes, yes,
sure.
yes. No, no, just do it. Just do
Yeah,
it. Why not? Winter's so short. Just take advantage of it. Yeah,
right?
sound bath. Yes, the sound bath's gonna be so nice, Miss Leah. Well, Miss Lisa, I look forward to seeing you in the cold plunge pictures. Send
Hmm.
me a tag. I look forward to seeing it. I'm keeping you accountable. It's gonna feel great. You're gonna feel so great after you do it, and you're gonna be so energized after that to go for your hike.
Exactly.
Thank you, ladies, so much for joining today's live. I hope you have the most amazing rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Perfect. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Bye.